When Joaquin Guzman, aka El Chapo, was sentenced to life imprisonment with an additional 30 years, it brought an end to a life of crime, firearms, criminal enterprise, and most of all, drug trafficking. Guzman is pending his retirement in a high-security prison in Florence, Colorado, and is perhaps introspecting even as you're watching this about his fast-paced, notorious life, and how it ended behind bars. What is intriguing is how a rural and poor Mexican boy grew up to be one of the most dreaded cartel crime lords the world has ever seen. He was ruthless, often methodical in his cold-blooded dealings. He became the Osama bin Laden of drug trafficking, and was notorious. Let's take a look at the savage life of El Chapo. Humble beginnings as a farmer's son. El Chapo was born Joaquin Guzman on April 4, 1957. Raised in the mountain village of La Tuna in Sinaloa, Mexico, he was greatly influenced by the region, a known hotspot for drug trafficking. His father, too, worked as a poppy farmer, which somehow added to his interest in drugs. His mother, Maria Consuelo Loera Perez, stayed home to look after the children. According to Maria, Guzman was addicted to money and was often seen stacking up play money as if it were real. He was ambitious from a young age. Guzman was ambitious and dreamt of a good life. Here was one farmer's boy who wanted nothing to do with farming, and as soon as he turned 15, he dropped out of school to work on his father's marijuana plantation. By now, he had already earned the nickname El Chapo, meaning shorty, for his small stance of 5 foot 6 inches. Guzman had already chosen the shortest route to riches. Unfortunately, his father Emilio would squander their earnings on alcohol, which is when Joaquin decided to open his own plantation with his 4 cousins Arturo, Alfredo, Carlos, and Hector Beltran Leyva. Like a true family boy, El Chapo supported his mother and 6 siblings until he felt it was too little. Guzman, aka El Chapo, wanted more. His first tryst with destiny and a notorious reputation. Guzman began working for his uncle, Pedro Aviles Perez, one of the pioneers of Mexican drug trafficking. It was Perez who introduced El Chapo to organized crime. And when just 20, El Chapo left La Tuna to join drug lord Hector El Güero Palma with his syndicate that transported drugs from Sierra Madre to urban USA. Guzman's job was to plan the routes and ensure safety of every illegal consignment. It was during his days with Perez that Guzman became notorious for his violent approach to business. He accepted no failure or mistakes, and if any smuggler did not deliver on time, he was eliminated by Guzman himself. Those who worked for him, including his suppliers, began fearing him, knowing that to double-cross Guzman was a death sentence. The rise of El Chapo. Slowly but surely, Guzman rose up in the cartel and soon went on to work for Felix Gallardo, one of the major drug lords in Mexico at the time. Gallardo knew of Guzman and entrusted him with logistics. By the 80s, Guzman was overseeing the transportation of huge drug consignments from Colombia to Mexico and their safe passage into the United States. Gallardo trusted him completely, and the Mexican cartel soon received a boost when Colombian cartels handed over their complete operations to their counterparts in Mexico. The Colombian Medellin began facing too much heat from the US DEA and found it practical to let the Mexican cartel manage their business. It made sense. It also made Gallardo the undisputed drug lord in Mexico, with Guzman as his #1 lieutenant. However, the rise of the Mexican cartel also brought it under the scanner of the DEA, who began conducting a solid undercover network in Mexico, with several informants relaying information about the cartel. El Chapo becomes kingpin of the Mexican cartel. By 1989, violence erupted in Colombia between the Medellin and Cali cartels. It was all-out war over drug routes, land, money, and revenge for the drug busts. In fact, rumors have it that the Cali cartel even cooperated with the DEA to take down Medellin kingpin Pablo Escobar. The downfall of the Colombian cartel soon paved the way for Gallardo to move the Mexican cartel into place. However, Gallardo's fortune was short-lived. He was soon arrested by Mexican authorities after pressure from the USA. This paved the way for Guzman to take his place and become undisputed leader of the Mexican cartel. No one wanted to confront the savagery of Guzman. Guzman skillfully united the Mexican cartels and divided the various corridors of trafficking between the Tijuana and Juarez cartels, while keeping the region Tecate, Baja California and Mexicali, and San Luis Rio Colorado for himself. These were the border crossings that connect the states of Sonora and Baja California with the U.S. states of Arizona and California. His thirst for power continues. As the leader of the Sinaloa cartel Pacific Coast region, Guzman's thirst for power and blood didn't wane. His hunger for money became insatiable, and nothing stood in his way. He wanted to become the undisputed leader of the Mexican cartel, and the only way was through force. This led to turmoil between the rising cartels, but Guzman would have none of it. The biggest threat was the Tijuana cartel, run by the Arellano Felix brothers, which he crushed with an iron fist by organizing a raid with 40 gunmen on the property of the leaders. The Tijuana cartel tried exacting revenge with a hit on Guzman outside the Guadalajara airport in 1993, but they were unsuccessful and killed the wrong man. Guzman struck back with a vicious vengeance, taking out several members of the Tijuana cartel, including lawyers and family members of his former boss Felix Gallardo, who he suspected to be aiding Arellano Felix. From then on, Guzman had to keep his eyes open, especially after a machine gun attack on his car in broad daylight in the streets of Guadalajara, initiated by Felix. Guzman fled to lie low for a while and assumed a different name, fearing more attacks. However, this was no sign of weakness on his part, and in 1992, he organized a revenge attack by having his men dress up as policemen who stormed a discotheque in Puerto Vallarta and eliminated all those involved in the attack on Guzman except the Arellano Felix brothers, who were in the restroom during the raid. They escaped via an air conditioning duct. The rivalry continued, and Guzman simply mowed down anyone standing in his way. He created innovative methods of operations. Guzman's method of operations grew more innovative day by day. He organized a huge network of cross-border tunnels, some of which were 5,000 meters long. He smuggled incredible amounts of illegal drugs through his network into the United States. He even transported cocaine disguised as fire extinguisher powder and in chili pepper cans. To manage the cartel, he established several gangs with names like Los Chachos, Los Negros, and Los Lobos, loyal to him to keep his empire safe. The gangs earned notoriety for committing heinous crimes in the name of Guzman and kept the vicious reputation of their leader alive. His first arrest and escape. In 1993, Guzman had to flee to Guatemala after an all-out attack by the Arellano Felix brothers, who had decided they just had to eliminate Guzman. Yet again, they were unsuccessful, but in the attack outside Guadalajara International Airport, the Mexican cardinal and Archbishop of Guadalajara, Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo, was caught in the crossfire and succumbed to his injuries. This enraged the Mexican president so much that he ordered a manhunt for all concerned, including Guzman. Guzman's plan to move to Guatemala, where he thought he would escape to El Salvador with his girlfriend, Maria del Rocio del Villar Becerra, and several of his bodyguards, was foiled by the authorities, who extradited him back to Mexico, where Guzman tasted jail for the first time in his life. He was sentenced to 20 years in a maximum security prison. However, he continued to run the cartel from behind bars with bribes and his loyal men. Even in prison, his influence was too strong, and in 2001, he escaped by bribing 71 security guards, some of whom even assisted him to run free by escorting him out in a laundry cart. A billionaire and love at first sight. After his escape, his empire flourished, and Guzman became a billionaire, with reports that his drug business was raking in $3 billion annually. It was during this time he met beauty pageant queen Emma Coronel, when she was only 17. Coronel was fascinated by his wealth and life, and of course the fact that it was Guzman's bribes that helped her win the beauty pageant at the Guava Festival. In 2007, when Guzman was 52, the couple were married on Coronel's 18th birthday. Later, Coronel would tell interviewers that she received nothing from her husband. "He didn't give me big presents or great things," she said. Guzman was reported to have 12 or 13 children, but sadly the life of a drug lord invites violence to the family too, and one of his sons, 22-year-old Edgar, was gunned down in a shopping center as revenge against Guzman. Soon after, Coronel gave birth to twins in an LA hospital. His second arrest. Guzman's empire grew exponentially, and by now he was also exporting methamphetamine. It was impossible for the authorities to catch him, because it was said that he had under his control a sophisticated security circle of at least 300 informants and gunmen, almost equal to the head of state. In February 2014, however, his luck ran out, when a DEA operation involving American Marines was able to capture him in a condo near the beach in Mazatlan, Mexico. U.S. officials used the element of surprise, infrared, and body heat scanners to successfully locate and detain Guzman, who was at the time sleeping. Guzman was sentenced and sent to Altiplano Federal Prison, and in spite of it being a maximum security prison, he escaped again. This time he used a well-lit ventilated tunnel beneath his shower, which led to a small farmhouse near the prison. His third arrest and final conviction. His freedom was short-lived. Just after a year, on January 8, 2016, Guzman was captured again in Sinaloa, Mexico, although it was a bloody one. The shootout between Guzman's men and Mexican authorities led to 5 fatalities. It seems Guzman was leading a life straight out of Scarface, but this time it was curtains for him. After spending a year in a Mexican prison, Guzman was brought back to the U.S. in 2017. On the 20th of January, he was tried by the United States District Court in New York, and even though he pleaded not guilty, he was finally convicted after a trial that lasted 2 years. On the 17th of July 2019, he was sentenced to life with an additional 30 years. Coronel lived a life of luxury that was short-lived. Despite his being in prison, his wife Coronel was well provided for and lived in luxury and extravagance. She often said she had no idea what work her husband did and was seen flaunting her money on social media. She even threw a birthday bash for her twins, fit for royalty, that included carnival rides, extravagant furnishings, and hundreds of large pink balloons. On February 22, 2021, Emma Coronel Aispuro was also arrested outside Dulles International Airport on charges of assisting Guzman with running his drug cartel, a charge she vehemently denied. She is still in custody pending trial, although she plans to plead not guilty. That was the life of notorious El Chapo, who we don't think is getting out of jail anytime soon. We hope you liked the video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.